Hi, everyone. My name is Abby Rappaport. I'm the publisher and co-founder of Stranger's Guide. We're an award-winning publication that commissions stories from local writers and photographers to build authentic portraits of place from Scandinavia and Tehran to Colombia and Lagos. Learn more about us at strangersguide.com. Today, I am very excited to introduce Nandini Jammi and Claire Atkin, the co-founders of Check My Ads, recently named by Fast Company as one of the most innovative companies in the world. Nandini Jammi is also she co-founded Sleeping Giants, the social media campaign that led advertisers to flee Breitbart and Fox News' Tucker Carlson and Bill O'Reilly. She is a trusted advisor to Fortune 500 brands, and she has testified on her groundbreaking work against ad-funded disinformation at the EU Parliament. Claire Atkin is also the co-founder of Check My Ads. She writes the popular newsletter Branded, which has broken major stories about the advertising industry's ties to disinformation and hate groups. As a brand safety advocate, her work centers around new sustainable standards in digital advertising while dismantling the ad-funded disinformation economy. Please join me in welcoming both of them after this show.
We were targeting one of the most powerful websites in the United States by going after their advertisers. When I went on the site for the first time, I was shocked to see ads for brands and companies that I shop with. Once the ad dollars leave my wallet, where does it go? What happens to it? Who gets the money? What's the breakdown? I had a hunch, a very strong feeling that they had no idea they were on this website. It turns out nobody knew, not a single brand, but almost across the board, they were horrified to find out. They decided that they could write hateful content, hateful, divisive content, put it on their website, send traffic to that website, and then have you pay for it. Shortly after the 2016 elections, an anonymous Twitter account came out of nowhere and started tweeting at websites with screenshots of their own ads saying, "Hey, did you know your ads are appearing on this racist website called Breitbart?" And what was interesting was that companies were responding to this anonymous account saying, "No, we didn't. Thank you so much for letting us know. We'll be sure to blacklist it."
After we won, this group called Sleeping Giants, a group of tech executives, they literally stripped out. They went to the 35 exchanges that sell the ads, 31 went away. So the ad revenues dropped like 90%.
Breitbart lost 90% of its ad revenue within 3 months. To be honest with you, we expected this to be like a 2-week project. We're like, we found this problem in advertising, now you go fix it. That's not how it ended up working out for us. We're still in business, unfortunately. Let me tell you, this hasn't been a 2-week project, and it hasn't been a 2-year project even. I've since left Sleeping Giants, and I've left my old job as a marketing manager, and together with my co-founder, Claire Atkin, we have launched Check My Ads Institute, the first ad tech watchdog. Our current mission, dismantle the disinformation economy. That's right, as I stand in front of you today, we believe that the biggest crisis of our generation is solvable. You see, the disinformation crisis looks like a big, scary thing. Yes, it's breaking everything around us, our relationships, our communities, it's even threatened our democracies. But this big, scary thing is actually running on something that is sitting right in front of us. Ads, digital ads. This year, advertisers will spend something like $700 billion on their ad campaigns, and a portion of nearly every one of those campaigns will end up right straight into the pockets of disinformation operatives. And the whole thing is being sent by just a handful of advertising technology companies. So this really, really big problem that we're all dealing with, this massive global issue, is actually quite small. And we can fix it by going straight to the source. I'd like to introduce you to my co-founder, Claire Atkin.
Hi, everyone. Hi, it's so exciting to be here today. Thank you so much for having us on stage at South by Southwest. It's wonderful that you're here. We would love to thank the organizers for making an exception and letting us come up on stage together. When I say the disinformation economy, it's possible that your first thought is of Facebook. Facebook does prop up the extremist content on our news feeds because it makes them money, it builds engagement. But the creators of extremist content don't make money on Facebook. It's not Facebook that pays them. They make money when users of Facebook click on the links and go to the websites where they meet half a dozen or so ad exchanges waiting to serve them ads. So while Facebook offers the content distributors of disinformation attention and engagement, it's the ad exchanges who have business relationships with them. We're talking contracts, bank accounts, direct deposits. They are in business together. That's what we're talking about when we talk about the disinformation economy. You can see why a disinformation operative would want to get into an ad exchange. It's a system that indiscriminately hands them money, and it rewards them for optimizing their extremist content at any cost. You can just plug into an ad exchange to get instant access to unlimited ad dollars. And purveyors of disinformation are not regular newsrooms. They don't have copy editors. They don't have to defer to legal. They don't have any kind of editorial process. For instance, the Gateway Pundit, when it promoted an article that said that the January 6th protesters were being sent to American gulags, they didn't have to check with their team before they did that. They can just churn out fake news articles one after the other. And you can see why ad exchanges would want to be in business with these disinformation outlets. It's a very easy way to make money. Everyone takes a cut. Disinformation and ad tech feed each other. With the money from ad tech, disinformation operatives have been able to build up institutions that feel incredibly powerful. And to keep the money coming in, these operatives have developed a reliable playbook. Make an enemy, create a story, recruit other outlets, turn it into a coordinated attack, and link to each other. Keep milking it, because that engagement of fear and hate, it builds an audience. It's awful. And it's easy to forget that it all falls apart when you just unplug it.
Who here knows Dan Bongino? Yeah, we do too. The host of the Bongino Show. He has a top 10 radio show. He's got this top 10 Facebook page. It's almost always every day in the top 10. You may have heard him barking on Fox News, where he has a show as well. Well, Bongino got to where he is by being really good at one thing. And that one thing is being really good at whipping up his audience to be angry about whatever it is that he's angry about that day. So let me tell you what happened when Bongino made us the target of his attention. The story doesn't actually start with us, but a Warby Parker ad on the Daily Wire. I subscribe to a lot of email lists for research purposes, and just a couple days after the Texas abortion ban passed, I found a Warby Parker ad on a Daily Wire article, and I was like, I don't think this is where Warby Parker wants to be. I mean, this is not where I would expect to see a Warby Parker ad. Do they know about it? So I tweeted at them to ask, hey, Warby Parker, did you mean to place your ad on the Daily Wire? And of course they didn't. Warby Parker was actually one of the first advertisers to drop Breitbart back in 2016. And they were great back then, and they were great that day. They got back to me really quickly and said, no, we did not want our ads here. It was a third party that did it, and we're blocking it now. So anyway, this was all fine. But the next day, Bongino, who I'm guessing, saw this exchange that had nothing to do with him, decided to climb in. So the next day, he ran this whole segment on his show about Warby Parker, saying, if you're pro-life, Warby Parker doesn't want you as a customer. So you should let him know what you think about that. And that day, he instructed his followers to call Warby Parker, text them, tweet them, flood their customer service lines with messages. And Bongino's followers did exactly what they were told. They went to war with Warby Parker's poor customer service team. And frankly, these people had nothing to do with any of it, right? So we are grateful for Warby Parker's support rep who gave us insight into what was happening during this time, because every day Bongino would go on his show or on Twitter and say, keep those messages coming to Warby Parker. And she was right to be upset. She was going into work to sell glasses and not to deal with a daily social media attack. And we almost take it for granted that these harassment campaigns happen now on social media, and we forget that no one should have to go through this. But this was actually a pretty successful day for someone like Bongino. This is really the engagement that he's looking for, and it's also his way of showing his power, right? It's kind of like his little peacock dance. I dare you to cross me. But this time he miscalculated. Advertisers do not want to be around toxicity in general, let alone Bongino's bizarre little war against beloved national brand Warby Parker. And this has been a thing since Breitbart. They've been very explicit. Do not put our ads on content like this. In advertising, we call this brand safety. This is the practice of keeping your ads off of hate and disinformation. But because of programmatic advertising and because nothing has really fundamentally changed since those early days of sleeping giants, many of these brands were once again unwittingly funding this kind of a campaign. So we told them every day on Twitter for months, and he kept losing advertisers every day for months. And predictably, he went nuclear. He started threatening all the advertisers that were leaving him, or the ones that we were talking to, and he made this warning shot against all the other advertisers with this story that he invented about how Ford Motor Companies has been taking orders from a George Soros-funded stooge. That's me. And it's true, he did scare advertisers. He scared them so much that they just kept dropping him. During this time, Bongino found a natural partner in the Post-Millennial, a Canadian disinformation outlet that was mad at us because we were also getting them dropped by advertisers. So together they started this collaboration of investigative reporting on us, just this explosion of fake stories about Claire and me. And they got what they wanted, which was engagement. And we got a lot of harassment and death threats, and some of them really scared us. But it also gave us something to work with, which is documented violations of every ad exchange and supply policy. This we can use. So it actually only took us about 3 months to get both Dan Bongino and the Post-Millennial dropped from pretty much all their ad partners. And that's because every ad exchange has a supply policy. This is a legal agreement with advertisers to protect their brands from unsafe environments. Supply policies are not a secret. They're available online. We just Google them, the Ad Exchange Plus supply policy or the Ad Exchange Plus publisher policy. You can Google them too. And we mapped their behavior to the supply policies and just started emailing them and tweeting at them and letting them know that this was happening. And within days, we found that all these ad exchanges were dropping the sites. And not because of morals or ethics or anything like that, but because if one of their Fortune 500 clients finds out that their ads have been served on ads like these, they're in a lot of trouble. So yes, doing this work in public is difficult and it's a lot for us, but we do it this way on purpose because this public documentation of what's happening really forces ad exchanges to act. And it actually becomes a lot harder for ad exchanges to stick around once the other ad exchanges are leaving because a lot of these policies share similar language. So there was this one ad exchange that's always the last holdout. You may have heard of them. It's called Google. We never really know what's going on in these companies, but right in the middle of our campaign, like around January, Google put a temporary suspension on Bongino's YouTube channel. You may have been following the story, for promoting COVID disinformation. So he was on his show every day talking about how masks don't work. Bongino at this point was off the rails. I don't want to take credit for that, but maybe I should. So he just went back on YouTube and made another video. He just evaded his ban. And so boom, they nailed him with a perma-ban for evading his ban. But they kept his Google display ads running on Bongino. So they weren't monetizing his YouTube account, but they kept the ads on his website. So Claire and I were immediately like, excuse me, if Bongino's content is so brand unsafe on one platform, why haven't you banned him across all your ad products? At least be consistent. And so the next day, Google demonetized his website. So now he's banned across all Google products, and Bongino, who now still has a Facebook top 10 page, is still sending quite a lot of traffic to that page, but he can't monetize any of it.
It's a wild story. Let me summarize. Brand safety is the #1 priority for advertisers. And ad exchanges don't seem to enforce brand safety. How do you have an entire industry based on not serving your clients' needs? How do you have an entire supply chain whose job it is, whose promise it has been, to send the right message to the right person at the right time, but actually they're just spinning ads all over the internet until someone catches them for doing their client's worst nightmare? We've spent 2 years researching these baffling questions. And what we found is that ad tech has ostensibly locked marketers out of their own campaigns. In the meantime, they're offering what they call solutions. Brand safety tech companies have been pushing 2 products with the promise of control. That control is an illusion. You'll see that they've actually grabbed control for themselves, but these 2 products are called block lists and context control. I'm going to talk to you about keyword block lists real quick. It's a very basic technology. Basically, with keyword block lists, you have a list of bad words, words that you don't want to be anywhere close to. And when these bad words are in the URL or in the header, it blocks the ad from loading on the web page. Before Sleeping Giants, the keyword list included words that were mostly to do with violence or sexuality. So terrorism, blood, guns, shooting, lesbian, more on that later. But after Sleeping Giants, brand safety companies instructed advertisers to start blocking sad, bad, and controversial news stories. They would say, you don't want to get in trouble with Sleeping Giants, do you? So for instance, after the Parkland school shooting of 2018, advertisers and their agencies started blocking words like Parkland, Florida, school, which meant that ads would not appear on any content that uses the word Parkland school shooting, but the people who needed to use those words were journalists. So because of this keyword best practice, during times of crisis, we're finding that advertisers are getting blocked from critical news coverage. There are a lot of advertisers today who still have the keyword Florida in their block list because these block lists don't really get updated either. Okay, so that's bad, and it gets worse. In 2020, we had a global bad news event. When the pandemic started, advertisers started blocking the words coronavirus and COVID-19 and pandemic at a time when all the news stories were about how to stay safe. This blocked the flow of dollars to newsrooms. BuzzFeed at the time, in March 2020, had a whistleblower talk to them, and they told us that one national advertiser was blocking the news, like New York Times and USA Today, at rates of over 50%. In 2019, the year before, The Guardian had reported that $3.2 billion had been blocked from the news in Japan, America, Australia, and the UK. Just 4 countries, $3.2 billion was blocked using keyword block lists. So you can imagine what happened when everyone was blocking coronavirus, the word coronavirus. It was a mass defunding event for the news.
Okay, so keyword blocking the news is not a good look for advertisers. So brand safety companies started pushing another product, contextual intelligence. Contextual intelligence is an AI product that is supposed to be able to read and scan a page just like a human and decide instantly if it's brand safe or brand unsafe. And the key feature here is something called a sentiment rating. It's supposed to be able to tell whether you feel positive, negative, or neutral about an article that you just read. Which people? We don't know. Who built it? We don't know. Is it possible that different people feel different ways about the same article? Don't worry about it. So a company called Integral Ad Science made the marketing mistake of a lifetime for about 6 hours in September 2020. They released a product demo of Context Control, their answer to contextual intelligence, which was very exciting for Claire and me because brand safety companies are always so secretive about these algorithms, so we never get to see inside the machine. So one of the things that we had been learning about in our research into the ad tech industry was that when it comes to keyword blocking, advertisers have been blocking words like lesbian. And so we had this running hypothesis that advertisers, because they were all blocking the word and they only associate it with adult content, so we had this long-running hypothesis that context control was doing the same thing and applying it at scale to all their clients. So I was very excited to stress test this product with a Refinery 29 article about lesbian bed death, which is an accepted term in the lesbian community, but also has 2 bad words in it. So, audience, let's play this together. What do you think Context Control thought of this article? Raise of hands. Positive? Nobody? Negative? Neutral. Are we neutral?
No.
Okay, we have like 1 neutral. Yeah, it looks like Context Control just blocked your ad from a high-quality outlet because it didn't understand the context of the piece. Okay, so let's look at another website, American Renaissance. What do y'all think? Do you think Integral Ad Science is going to catch on to the fact that American Renaissance is a notorious white nationalist website? What do we think? Positive? Positive? Negative? Okay, couple negatives, couple positives, it could go either way. Neutral. Oh man, who thinks white nationalism is neutral? Don't raise your hands, please. Okay, now let's look at an article from Kenosha News, Kenosha's local newspaper, which was covering the murder of Jacob Blake. How would news coverage of Black Lives Matter fare? What do y'all think? Positive, negative, or neutral? Positives? Negatives? Okay. Neutral? Okay. We're thinking negative or neutral. unavailable for legal reasons. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this means. I mean, this thing is dumb as a brick. I mean, what this product spits out is like a roll of a dice. And it matters what this product comes up with, because the IAS, Integral Ad Science, was pushing this product globally and urging brands to fully block out negative sentiment content and only keep the positive and hero-related content, as they said, which was very difficult during the pandemic, and very difficult when there's not a lot of good news to go around. So, frankly, we would have loved to do more research, but Integral Ad Science pulled down their demos saying that it was being misinterpreted. So we thought this would be the last time we'd get to look under the hood. But at the end of 2020, a researcher contacted us saying he was pretty sure he was seeing top brand safety classifications on every news article he was reading by, right-clicking inspect in Google Chrome. A leak. Claire, tell us about the leak.
Integral Ad Science, Oracle, and ComScore were all leaking their top secret brand safety classification, giving us our first real look into how they choose who gets monetized and who does not on the media landscape. Right away, we checked out some disinfo sites. You might recognize OANN, and we found that they were rating at 88.5% safe. This is Oracle's rating here. Then we checked out Hannity.com. Hannity.com has denied and downplayed the pandemic. It was rated 60% safe. Townhall.com's coverage of the pandemic included the words Wuhan virus. They were rated 69.5% safe. So we compared it to the New York Times. We thought, all right, these disinfo outlets are doing so well. The New York Times must be 100% safe, or at least 80. No, they had marked entire beats as unsafe. Two writers really stood out. Marilyn Stasio does reviews of crime novels for the New York Times. She was marked 89.7% unsafe. Her entire New York Times repertoire was just blocked. Sorry, Marilyn. Ali Winston covers the NYPD. He was marked 97% unsafe. If you want to check, you can check his Twitter. He has it in his bio. To us, it looks like this technology does not understand the difference between the promotion of violence and news coverage of stories that have to do with violence. This is very serious. Disinformation outlets like OANN are passing their filters. They're getting a hall pass, and the news is getting blocked, and we are in a disinformation crisis. This is critical. Okay, so you can't use keyword lists, and context control tools are sending ads to disinformation and blocking the news. This technology is terrible. Maybe we should just use exclusion lists.
No, Claire, we can't use exclusion lists. No exclusion lists. Okay, the most frequently asked question that we receive at Check My Ads is, can you just give us an exclusion list? Like, just solve the problem for us. It would just be so easy if you just gave us the list. And our answer is no. And the first reason is because of ad exchange inventory. So the bad guys are always creating new websites at exponential rates on a daily basis, basically. And ad exchanges, as we've established, are letting them all in. It's a free-for-all. So, okay, it's just basically an impossible task. How are we supposed to keep up with these new websites every day? So even if we could magically get you a block list that updates all the time and magically anticipates everyone's new websites, we wouldn't be able to stop the flow of ad dollars towards disinformation. That's a critical difference. And that really is the problem that we're trying to solve here. And that is because even if you block the domain of a website, the owner of that website can continue to collect ad dollars and just plug right back into the advertising supply chain through something called a dark pool sales house. Let me explain what dark pools are with our friend Steve Bannon. Bannon, I'm sure all of you know who he is, but in case you don't, he used to be the editor-in-chief of Breitbart and has been kicked off pretty much every ad platform on the planet for calling for the beheading of Dr. Fauci. So, you know, we can all be like in agreement here. Nobody wants their ads associated with Steve Bannon. He's not brand safe. Within adtech, within adtech, there's two kinds of seller IDs that ad exchanges hand out. And this was part of a industry-wide protocol called ads.txt, don't worry about it, that's supposed to help advertisers confirm that their ads are being sent to the right websites and that they are sending their money to the right bank accounts. There's so much spoofing and crazy stuff happening in the ad tech industry. So think about these IDs as driver's licenses. It's a unique number, unique to you, and it's only valid for you. It's not valid if you give it to somebody else. So there's two kinds of IDs. One is a publisher ID and the other is a reseller ID. A publisher ID tells advertisers that they're sending money to a publisher or a family of websites. So think like Vanity Fair or Condé Nast. They're all part of the same family. And then there's the reseller ID. The reseller ID tells the advertiser that they're sending money to a middleman who is managing a bunch of unrelated websites. Now, publisher IDs are just inherently more valuable in the market because advertisers are willing to pay a premium for a direct buy. Like they're willing to pay a little bit more money to ensure that their money and their ads go towards that publisher. And ad exchanges, critically, are only supposed to give them to publishers. But of course, there are no rules in ad tech. So what we found is that some middlemen pretend to be publishers. Ad exchanges just go along with it. And that allows middlemen to bundle up a bunch of websites, random websites, and create a dark pool. And the money ends up going to one bank account, and advertisers think they're working with one publisher. And that's why we call it a dark pool. So how does this help someone like Steve Bannon? Well, Bannon can just enter one of these dark pools, and no one will ever see his name in their media buy. They'll see some other LLC in there, but they'll never see Steve Bannon. They'll never see any of the outlets that he works with. So you'll never know that your money, because of a dark pool sales house, ended up with Steve Bannon, because it's the dark pool that's paying him, and you're just paying the dark pool. And so he still manages to get money funneled towards him without advertisers' knowledge. Yeah, and that's why block lists don't work, because blocking a domain may stop your ads from appearing on Steve Bannon, and even that is not a guarantee. As you can see here, poor GoDaddy, I've tweeted at them so many times over the past few years, but it won't stop the flow of money towards someone like Steve Bannon, because he just partners up with dark pools, and he still gets the money. Oh, I'm still talking. Okay, and then the last one. So ad tech companies are also just not above straight up lying to you. There's a company called OpenWeb. They're basically a monetized comment section, just like Discuss. They rebranded themselves during the summer 2020 Facebook ad boycott and sort of marketed themselves as a safe alternative, a brand safe alternative to Facebook. I really love their mission statement. We're solving the crisis of toxicity on the web. We're creating environments that constantly spur quality conversations and keep them going, helping publishers host the engaging discussions the public is starving for, right beside the stories everyone wants to talk about. Oh yeah? That's interesting. I'm gonna leave that up there for another second or two. Here's what one of OpenWeb's most well-known investors had to say about their ability to solve the crisis of toxicity on the web. At least someone believes in them.
Does this look like a well-oiled $700 billion machine to you? We launched Check My Ads 2 years ago to help advertisers check their ads, because we thought that the key to defunding disinformation was every advertiser taking responsibility for their own campaigns. We knew that advertisers, given the choice, always make the right one. But what we're finding is that they can't check their ads. Their vendors are only giving them high-level reports. They say impressions, your click-through rates, your CPMs. They need details, but the agencies won't give them details. The vendors don't give them details. And when they ask, vendors are giving our clients excuses like, no, it's too expensive to get you that data. Or, why do you want that data? Or, most recently, it's written into your contract that you can't have it. They tried to go over one of our clients' heads. They went to her boss and said she was asking too many questions. This is not an ordinary client-vendor relationship. This is a power struggle. Adtech has taken control. They don't want to give it back. But we're in the fight of a lifetime. We believe that we can dismantle the disinformation economy by taking on the adtech industry. The title of this talk is We Can Solve the Disinformation Crisis. We means all of us. We need you to get in on this fight. Disinformation purveyors work all day, every day, to build the hateful, spiteful content that we are seeing the consequences of all day. We also need to work every day, all day, to make sure that they cannot make money while they do that. So there's 3 we's here. We, Check My Ads, we the marketers, and we the people. We at Check My Ads will continue to do what we do. We work with an incredible team of volunteers and researchers to make sure that we uncover the relationships between adtech and disinformation. The second we is we the marketers. Marketers, all day long, you work hard to get the right message, the right colors, the right partnerships, the right influencers. You know what it means to have a brand be an expression of what you stand for. So when it comes to your ad placements, it's also important to be a steward of your brand there. We are part of a generation of marketers who have been stuck with the default settings. But now we know those settings are optimized for hate. We don't have an obligation to follow the defaults anymore. We need you to be a fussy customer, to be a difficult client. Find out what you've really been paying for. You are entitled to know everything about your own campaign. Check your ads. High-level reports are where disinformation thrives. Ask for the data that tells you exactly where your ads have been placed. If they don't want you to see that data, ask why. Expect pushback. And if you find your ads on hate sites, ask why and use their supply policy to ask for a refund. You have power here. You are the client. And if you find them breaching brand safety agreements, they are on the hook for refunds, lawsuits, and your reputational damage. Here's an example of a supply policy. This one's amazing. It's relatively new. They're getting increasingly specific. We actually use Playwire's supply policy that says that you're not allowed to overthrow the government if you do business with them to get Charlie Kirk kicked off the entire supply chain. When you find your ads on sites that you're not sure about, they feel wrong, but you're asking yourself, should we block our ads from something just because we don't agree with it? My corporation is neutral. Should we not put ads on both sides? You can ask yourself, the following questions. Does this website adhere to a fact-based reality? Are the outlets masking their opinion as journalism? Are the sources that they cite transparent, credible? Do they issue corrections consistently and transparently? For example, Tucker Carlson is on a news channel, but he doesn't appear to adhere to a fact-based reality. Next, look at narrative framing. Do they promote conspiracy theories or just raw speculation as news stories? Do they think members of extremist groups might have a point? Are the headlines designed to make you angry? For example, when Tucker Carlson repeatedly hosts an Oath Keeper with seditious conspiracy, or who has been charged with seditious conspiracy on his show, and he doesn't mention why they've been charged, they're deliberately not giving you the right story. Finally, does this outlet engage in othering? This is the most important one. Othering is a framing of us versus them. It presents a marginalized or at-risk group as a danger to us. The goal of othering is to make you consider a specific group or individual a threat to the audience. For example, when Tucker Carlson calls immigrants or says that immigrants are making us poorer and dirtier, that is what we call othering. Remember, you don't have to support any of this. It's your right as an advertiser to choose what kind of world you are contributing to. Finally, for everyone else, outside of marketing. On January 5th, Check My Ads launched the Defund the Insurrectionists campaign. We are listing every ad tech vendor who is working with the 6 people who have made the most money promoting a violent insurrection. The goal of this campaign is to unplug the insurrectionists from the supply chain once and for all. In just 2 months, we have lost Tim Pool, Charlie Kirk, Glenn Beck, and Dan Bongino access to ad exchanges. For those of you who have been asking, we hear you, and we are working our way up to Fox News. The people who join us in this campaign have joined us in 2 ways. They have become checkmates. That is, they give monthly donations to help us grow our operations, and they also sign up to email updates. Email updates are action emails that they can send to ad tech executives to ask why they're still working with people who defy their supply policies. We are holding ad tech executives accountable personally. They have enjoyed, up till now, relative obscurity. People don't know about their own companies or what they do. So our campaign has been a real wake-up call for them. We're getting instant results, and you can find this campaign at checkmyads.org/J6. This playbook works. We have already taken millions out of the disinformation economy. We will solve the disinformation crisis, and we invite you to join us. Thank you.